Happy Wednesday, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Trading the Markets. I'm Bijan Maleki. And of course, as always, I'm joined by Kris Bullock. It's only midweek, and we've already had some bangers content-wise. And of course, we would. It is crypto week. So yesterday, Sebastian Purcell and a panel of experts debated several pieces of crypto legislation, with the headlines being obviously the Genius Bill and Clarity Act. Rao's live AMA with our pro members joining the show also dropped yesterday. And for our alpha tier, Rao and Julian were back to shoot the shit for round 9 of shooting the shit, of course. And we had Macro Monday, another great session of Macro Monday with Andreas and Mikkel, where they discussed the new round, or I guess doubling down, of tariffs. Are they actually bullish this time? Check it out to find out. And if you want the latest insights, alpha, macro trends, crypto news, and more, make sure you're signed up to Real Vision. We've got something for everyone, no matter your level of expertise. We've definitely got some great information that you can digest. So another quick reminder is that we discuss this stuff all day, every day in our Discord. So whether you want to stress test your ideas, get insights on new trades, you need to join us in RV Connect and join us in the Discord. You'll also have access to Chris's portfolio and Joe Bland's portfolio. So make sure you sign up to that. And if you have any questions during the show, we take them live on air. We'll look at any charts you'd like. Just throw it in the chat on X or on platform, and we'll get to as many as we can. Kris, how are you doing Wednesday? Let's get into it. What's on your mind this midweek?
Happy Wednesday for sure. Lots of good stuff. I woke up to some really nice alerts this morning, some new all-time highs on a lot of good assets, and everything is running right now. And like you said, crypto week, so it's game on. I definitely wanted to. I'm noticing a bit of a shift. We're seeing, obviously, Bitcoin is pushing all-time highs. So too is total crypto market cap, which we're going to talk about in a second. But I'm really seeing a resurgence in the alt sector that's being actually led by Ethereum. And I think, to me right now, that's kind of the story. That's the big development that I'm seeing. We're seeing a shift into the alt sector. And if ETH can continue to maintain the strength that it's showing right now, I think that will only help the rest of the alt sector and give us a little bit more of maybe a broader based alt season than what we might have anticipated. I think the better that ETH does overall, the more outside of ETH will benefit from that. So it's actually pretty exciting right now, and I'm looking forward to digging into the charts here and breaking it all down.
Let's do it. We've always talked about this moment about ETH breaking out. We're, poking the stick, like when ETH break out. Seems like it could be coming. Obviously, Rao and Julian charted it on shooting the shit. Julian was pretty bullish on ETH's prospects. And like we've been saying, we want, whether you hold ETH or not, we want it to pump because that is going to bring about alt season. It's going to bring that Bitcoin dominance down and just let the alts flow. So yeah, let's dive into to the market cap. I know you've got some ETH BTC charts. You've got a whole bunch of charts to dive through. So why don't we get into those?
Yeah. So let's start with total market cap. And one thing that I've observed here, so I've drawn, this is actually, the chart we're looking at here is total market cap going all the way back to 2014 when it started being calculated by CoinMarket or by TradingView. And what I've drawn here is, we'll notice in the last 3 cycles that we've gone through here, it starts out at the bottom on one trajectory, and then at some point along the way, round about halfway through or a little after halfway through, it sharply pivots upwards to a much steeper trajectory, and starts to go parabolic up until the peak. And it did this to the sharpest extent in 2017. Then if we look at 2021, of course, it did it again. It broke through where, initially it falls along this first trend line, and then at some point it breaks away from this trend line again and kind of never looks back, and ultimately closes much higher. And so if we go to right now where we are, I can't help but wonder if this is what we're starting to see. We're starting to see the final breakaway. Now, granted, we've had a couple of teasers here where it did deviate pretty significantly from this original trend line, only to come back and touch it again. But we know, based on timing, where we are within the 4-year cycle, that we're into the latter stages. We're sort of looking for that phase 2 of the banana zone, that Raoul and Julian talk about. And so I can't help but wonder if this is in fact that breakaway. And just by going on the general I hear a lot of the macro people, again, like Raul and Julian, talk about, the crypto market achieving like a 10 trillion market cap overall by the end of this cycle. They also talk about how this particular cycle is breaking a little bit away from the trends, the previous 4-year trends, where it might actually extend into Q1 or even the end of Q1 of next year, as opposed to peaking out, say, in like November or December, like previous cycles have. So what I did here is I just kind of drew this line out to 10 trillion at about the end of Q1, just to sort of gauge what this trajectory might look like. And of course, this is just an estimate based on rough guesses from everybody, but it does match, quite in line with the trajectory that we're following thus far. So fingers crossed here that this is the final breakaway from this initial uptrend, and we're entering into the more parabolic phase of this market, which I kind of think we are. I mean, if you look at any of the headlines right now with anything that's going on in the market, everything is bullish. I mean, across the board, fundamentally, technically, from the government, from the regulatory standpoint, there's literally no reason to be bearish at all at this point. I mean, the amount of treasuries, the new Bitcoin treasuries, that we're seeing coming online is just insane right now. And so you can't help but think that there's a high likelihood that this is the final breakaway from this initial trend, and we're off to the races here. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on this chart for sure.
Yeah.
The next thing I want. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say, the next thing I wanted to talk about was Bitcoin dominance, because this has kind of been the story too. Outside of that is, even though Bitcoin is doing incredibly well right now, breaking into new all-time highs, it's in price discovery. It's put new all-time highs in multiple times over the last several days. Despite that, if we look at Bitcoin dominance, it's actually got 4 red weeks in a row, and this current week that we're on is the biggest candle yet. And not only that, it's actually broken down below its 20-week moving average for the first time since going back to November of last year. So this is a pretty significant development, and I honestly feel like this time it's a little bit different. One, because we are so much further into the cycle. Two, because I like that it's actually more of a gradual decline. I like the fact that it's not just a quick nuke down or a quick wick down like we had, back in the beginning of May. I like the fact that it's more of a slow, gradual rollover, because that tells me that there's a little more actually strength to the signal, I think, with this kind of price action versus these quick spikes down, or these quick drastic drops. So this is going to be interesting to watch. And then kind of the inverse of this is essentially looking at the ETH chart. And if you've been watching the show for a while now, you'll be familiar with this chart. But we're seeing ETH continue to push higher highs and higher highs still. In fact, now this week, I know when we did our show on Monday, we were back right here, and we had just kind of closed above these initial wicks, but now we've actually really pushed above it. And in fact, we're well on pace now to finally setting a higher high, and we're well above the bull market support band on the ETH Bitcoin pair. So this to me is becoming more and more legitimate by the day. Like this is actually something I'm paying attention to now, and I'm really pretty confident that we're seeing a strong reversal in ETH, and not only just looking at the price action, but just based on what we're seeing fundamentally from ETH. We're seeing ETH being talked about as like the blockchain for tokenizing, the stock markets and things like that. And so it's not going anywhere, and it's just becoming, the signal is getting louder and louder by the day. And I'm becoming more and more confident by the day that maybe the bottom is in for ETH, for this cycle, and it's going to rally. And so if we kind of look at this ETH, I've got this other chart here. And so what we're looking at here, the center line is actually Ethereum dominance, ETH dominance. This top line is Bitcoin dominance. And then this bottom line is others dominance, or others.d, which I just kind of means alts basically. And for a long time, alt dominance was actually showing a lot more strength. And suddenly alt dominance just kind of went through the floor, and ETH dominance has rebounded significantly and is back above 10%, which I think is a pretty significant development too. So this is also showing how, from a dominant standpoint, Ethereum is actually really outpacing everything. And honestly, since the mid-April lows, Ethereum dominance has just been on an absolute tear and is taking over everything. So this also sort of further cements my belief that ETH is back, I guess you could say. I think it's safe to say ETH is back at this point. And and I don't really think it's going anywhere. However, there's one small caveat that I wanted to throw out. Not a big deal, but looking at it real quick on the oops. Let me pull up this chart here. Looking at it real quick, just on the daily, on the trading alpha indicator, it's a little overheated in the moment. On the short term, we've got like a DMARC 8 and 9 here, which is signaling a little bit of an overbought signal. We've also got overbought RSI signal here. So ETH could be due for possibly a short-term pullback. But at the same time, I feel like the whole market is about to just rip right now with all the headlines that I'm seeing. So really, this could be nothing. There's plenty of times where DMARC 9 show up and it's not even a blip on the radar. It just blows right by it. But I did want to call it out because I did notice it and I thought it was worth mentioning. Outside of that, though, like I said, I think ETH is the story. I think Bitcoin dominance is the story. And I think, again, the market just looks ready to run across the board. I mean, we're seeing highs everywhere. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I knew, and for those of us that have been here for a little while now, we know in the middle of, ripping, that having corrections or slight dips are just, normal,
Right.
right? And sometimes those
Right.
happen so fast that if you blink, you don't even catch it. So just something
Right.
to be aware of. Love to see it. To quote to quote a wise man who has often predicted, yellow fruits in our future, those were some fuck you higher charts, and absolutely love to
Yeah.
see these breakouts here.
Yeah.
Well done. So Kris, I know you also had some charts on some of the trades we talked about from last week, or Pengu in
Yeah.
particular. I know you wanted to touch on the
Yeah. Yeah.
Pengu chart. Oh my God, what a trade that one has proven to be. There. So let's see
Yeah. I
what the
mean,
chart like.
Pengu looks great. It's absolutely on a rip. I mean, all the boxes ticked. We got green candles, we got green dots, we got a green track line. It's closing back in on all-time highs. It's going to be in price discovery again before too long. I know back here we had the airdrop and it kind of went up for a bit, and as happens with most airdrops, it just kind of, the bottom fell out. Plus the timing was a little bit bad. It kind of happened when the rest of the market corrected at the beginning of the year. So it, was kind of down only for the first phase of its life here. But ever since then, ever since the April lows, it's been pretty strong. And then as of late, again, when we had the 60-day cycle correction back at the end of June, it's just absolutely been on a tear and really has been outpacing everything. Like if we look at the alt season index, Pengu's right at the top basically over the last 90 days. So it's, what can you say?
Not argue with that.
Right. Yeah, it's crushing it. So Pengu's looks good, and like we've talked about before with everything that's going on with Pengu outside of just crypto, I feel like it's kind of crossed over a little bit into more of just mainstream consciousness. With it's got a cartoon, it's got stuffed animals. I mean, it's got the NFTs, of course. It's got, Pengu is out there. It's a global brand now. It's way beyond just like a meme coin. And so for me, that signals a lot of strength. I know you could argue there's times when you could say the first time you put like a real world asset to a meme, then it's over. But like somehow Pengu has sort of become an exception there, and like I said, it's sort of crossed over into mainstream a little bit, and I think it's probably going to be one of the stronger meme assets in the space over the rest of this cycle, honestly.
Absolutely. Pengu is getting hundreds of millions of views just across Instagram, Twitter.
Yeah.
They have an expansive GIF library as well that, I think
Right.
even just normies are just using because they're cute penguins. I've bought all my nieces and my baby cousins, every one of them that was a newborn. I sent them the Pudgy penguin toys that I got from Amazon. So yeah, they're in Amazon, they're in Walmart. I know that you said utility sometimes has a negative effect on things,
Right.
but I don't think so for the Penguins, because they are absolutely just building a brand that's going to transcend Web3, in my opinion. And
Yeah.
we're seeing the proof in the chart right now. So I know you had a few other charts
Yeah.
to get into. So before we actually have a bunch of questions rolling in. So before we
Okay.
do that, let's definitely check out some of your other charts. I know Bonk is on your mind. We had some people talking about Bonk in the Discord as well. So with some nice entry points. But what's your chart saying?
Yeah, Bonk 2 looks great. I mean, very much like Pengu, almost the same type of price action out of the most recent dip. also just ripping. On the back of the new, basically the meme coin platform that they've launched, it's getting a ton of play because of that. I guess I suppose I question a little bit the long-term viability of this, meme coin launch platform that they've created. But for now, it's great. Like, I think that, it's doing well. It's going to allow Bonk to get back up into all-time high territory, which can only be good. So I think for me, Bonk is a really good short-term play. And some people may disagree with me, and that's fine. But I still, again, debate whether or not the long-term is going to play out, I guess, with this. Like, I don't know how long this meme coin launchpad is ultimately going to be a thing, before enthusiasm wanes and people kind of move on to the next thing. Plus, they've got competition with Pump.fun, of course, which I think is going to be a thing. But one thing that I did think about, especially with Bonk, with their platform launch and with Pump.fun, is all of this is amazing for Solana itself, like the Solana blockchain. I think that all of this is going to ultimately play back into, number go up for Solana, which we kind of need because Solana's been lagging a little bit behind. Like, I know we talk about Solana and SWI being neck and neck a lot, and SWI has kind of outpaced it as of late. But I think, these two platforms can only be a good thing for Solana going forward, and just all of this activity that's basically coming back to Solana right now. Plus, we know memes are ripping, which we'll get into in a minute. So, like, just in general, I see good things happening for Solana. I think it's only a matter of time before it rallies hard and catches up. I wouldn't be surprised to see some double-digit days come out of Solana here in the near term. Just because of the momentum of everything that's happening right now.
For those of us holding Solana, we would welcome that. Absolutely curious to hear the community's thoughts on this. Who do you guys think is going to win this competition between Bonk and Pump.fun? Just leave your thoughts in the comments section. Curious to see what you guys think on that. I personally think it's going to be Pump.fun, but we'll see how it plays out, and we'll see if you guys agree there. All right, Kris. So I think we have. What else we got? I know. Oh, let's check into the SWI ecosystem, and then let's check out those meme coins, some of those meme coin gains, and then we'll start diving into some of the questions. Perfect. And some of our trade ideas.
Sounds good. So SWI also, like I said just a second ago, SWI has been outpacing Solana. It's been on an absolute rip too. It's doing really well. It's kind of coming back closer to all-time highs as well. It's kind of right at a resistance level based on this previous price cluster here. So I'm going to want to see it break out of this. Noting too, it also has a DMARC 8 and 9. But again, with just the overall enthusiasm we're seeing across the board right now, my gut tells me that these DMARC signals are probably going to be invalidated, and it's just going to keep going higher. Because again, I'm waiting for an announcement about the Genius Act that's supposed to be happening. There's a vote going on even right now, I think, in Congress right now, a procedural vote. So that headline could cause the market to rip. And again, it's just going to blow right past these DMARC signals. But nevertheless, SWI looks good. And then on top of SWI itself, I think there's a couple SWI ecosystem plays that we've been keeping track of that also look amazing. One of them being Lo-Fi. Now, granted, it's not quite as far along. It had a little bit bigger of a dip down than SWI itself did, because of course it's a beta play. So of course it's going to have wilder volatility, but it too has had some really big days over the last week. Like this day here, it was a 43% day, like in one day. That's mega. And then just a couple of days ago, we had a 15% day, and today we're up 6%. So it's catching up rapidly. And I think it's, as long as SWI continues to do well, I think Lo-Fi will do well. We also know that Lo-Fi is essentially one of the top memes, or the top meme in the SWI ecosystem. And so if SWI really takes off, I think that bodes well for Lo-Fi. Also, Lo-Fi has a really, really small market cap right now, which also works in its favor because it takes so little to move that needle. And so just any influx into the SWI ecosystem that trickles into Lo-Fi is just going to cause it to rip. And then Deep is the other one. Deep, which we know is sort of the foundational liquidity protocol for the entire SWI ecosystem, also just looks amazing. Also right back up at this same level like SWI is, and also inching up closer to all-time highs, just like SWI is. So basically, as SWI does, so too does Deep. And I think you're going to get a little bit better beta out of Deep than you are SWI directly. So I think Deep is also just a phenomenal play from the SWI ecosystem, and is only going to keep running as well too. So all three of these look really good.
Yeah, Swedes are absolutely thriving. While we're on that, though, I know I said we would get to questions a little bit later, but this question ties into exactly what you just said. Steve from the platform wants to know, is it time to leverage up my Swede trade?
I mean, like I said, as far as money's coming into the space, we know that. We also know money is flowing out the risk curve into the alt space, which we can confirm. Actually, perfect segue into. Let me touch on the crypto dashboard here on the Real Vision website. I've talked about this before. We've got the top 200 market cap weighted and then the top 200 equal weighted. And as I've said in the past, when we know the top 200 equal weighted starts outpacing the market cap weight, then that means alts basically are outpacing like the likes of Bitcoin and Ethereum. And we can see over the last 30 days, the equal weight has outpaced. Over the last 7 days, equal weight's up, and over the last day, it's up. And even on the last 90 days, while it's not outpacing, it's still up a nice chunk. So we're starting to see a reversal basically play out in the lower end of the top 200 by looking at these numbers here. So this is telling us that money is moving out the risk curve, and just we know that going back to the charts that SWI and Solana have outpaced Bitcoin in that same time span. And so it's probably safe to assume that the more beta plays within the SWI ecosystem are likely to do better still. So I can't tell you yes or no, but I can tell you that the probabilities are in your favor that money is going further out the risk curve, and I guess now's as good a time as any, I suppose.
All right. Thank you for the question, Steve. All right, let's round this out with those meme coin gains.
Yeah.
And then maybe dive into some more of these questions and my NFT trade idea for you guys.
Perfect. So yeah, this chart you may have seen before I've shared. So this blue line is basically an aggregate of like the top 20 or so meme tokens. And it's had its ups and downs, but we can see it's basically bottomed and reversed. Back on June 30th or July 1st rather, it bottomed. Memes have gone up well since then. They've actually gotten back above this aggregate moving average. So by and large, memes have bottomed and are running. And then this green chart here is basically SPX just sort of isolated on its own, just to highlight that SPX is in fact wildly outpacing the larger meme sector as a whole. Which is interesting to me, and it continues to do well. In fact, it hit all-time highs just this morning, which was fantastic. So good on memes in general, good on SPX. I think this is also a really solid indication that money is again flowing further out the risk curve. When we see memes running, that means that people are taking those Bitcoin gains or whatever and rolling the dice on them. And so this is what we want to see here. This is an indication that it's game on, basically.
Game on. We love that. Yeah, a lot of bullish things happening, right? You have this crypto week. A lot of key pieces of legislation are going to be voted on, hopefully passed, especially the ones that really help our industry. You've got people going down the risk curve. You got talks of rates, coming down in the near future. So it looks like a perfect storm is a brewing for our bags. Okay, so real quickly, I just want to go over one trade that I wanted to highlight for you guys. And you probably, if you're listening to Raul, which you should be, you've probably heard him talk about this quite a bit. You know that he's a big fan of XCopy. So I do want to use that for my trade idea of the week. I want to throw in Max Payne and Friends by XCopy. And I also want to give a shout out to our incredible mod, BDez, who really gave me some great alpha on this and, just kind of helped me think of this kind of in a different way. All right, listen, Max Payne, XCopy, right? It's an iconic iconic collection from a well-known artist, basically like the likes of Beeple and the fuck renders of our space. It's a deflationary collection, right? So you can burn your Max Payne for another collection of from XCopy, or you can either just hold on to that Max Payne and the art's going to go up in value, right? Because if you're burning the collection, it's going to become more inherently valuable. So that's obviously something great. Affordable, right? It's under 1 ETH. It's under 0.7 ETH right now as we stand. It's, I think, 0.65 ETH. I know saying something that's $2,000 is affordable for digital art. Sounds kind of crazy, but like it's true. But like Raul often says, you have to think of these in terms of ETH, right? It's an ETH store of value. So that's definitely something to consider because as um, as ETH goes up, and we just charted it, we see it on the verge of a breakout. We're hoping the ETH value goes up, so you're kind of like you're double dipping, so to speak, on that dollar value and upwards price action. So love that idea of it as well. So that is my little spiel for you on XCopy. Go grab yourself one if you can. Really, really bullish on this collection as a whole, and anything coming out of XCopy for that matter. All right,
I'm back.
let's he's back, guys. Just in time
Minor
too, Chris.
technical difficulties.
Just in time because we're hitting some questions now. So this one comes from Shafiq on the RV platform. If you have dry powder right now, where would you invest it?
That's such a hard question to answer. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, there's so
How
many things
much
that
dry
goes
powder
into
are we
that.
talking, Shafiq? Yeah.
Yeah, well, how much dry powder, like where on the risk curve are you? You know, are you looking for a home run swing? Are you looking for just kind of a steady, safe gainer? I mean, there's any number of ways you could answer that. I mean, I would say ETH, honestly, is probably a good bet for like a lower risk play. If you want to go further out the risk curve, there's any number. I mean, I think SWI, I would say SPX, I would say Hype, I would say Pengu, I would say even Bonk. Um, there's so many ways. The thing with it, when we get into even like a slightly broader based alt season like we seem to be experiencing right now, literally you can throw money at the wall and it'll stick. I mean, it's just like everything's going up, some stuff's going to go up a little bit more than others, but everything's going to go up, and so yeah, I don't know. It's like I said, any one of those, they're all going to go up some more than others, but I
Yeah,
wish I
I
could
think
give
that's
you
a
a more
great.
precise answer.
No, but I think that's a great one. You gave them some lower risk ones, right? With ETH, we're
Yeah,
looking like a breakout. We had maybe something deeper down the risk curve. I'm gonna suggest deep and rekt, Shafiq. And my
yeah,
idea behind that is those are well below, the list on the overall market cap. So a lot I want to capture upside right now. So if you do have some dry powder, hopefully your bags are kind of already set. So this dry powder that you're talking about is one that you're like looking for like a swing for the fences moon bag type of play. So I would look at deep and rekt for that. Pengu, I love Pengu, but it's up so much right now, and obviously I think it's going to keep going. But I think rekt is another kind of good token in that vein. And then
yeah.
like we just charted deep, looking beautiful
Or
right
even
now.
even lo-fi for that matter. I mean, I think the
Yeah,
market cap was only like 40 million bucks or something like that. If that thing goes to a billion, which tons of memes do, I mean, that's huge right there. So
there you go. Thanks for the question, Shafiq. Okay, let's see. This question from Stuart is on the platform as well. Wants to know about taking profits. So we love the rip, but it might be interesting to hear about strategy to either take profits or when to shift from Bitcoin to alts or alts to Bitcoin. What are your thoughts?
taking profits is it's a funny one for me. I know I had a bit of a rant on Monday about that. So the way I look at it is we're really just getting started with this next leg up, basically. And so I don't ever look at taking profits on kind of a smaller incremental scale. Like I see a lot of people, oh, we're up 10 or 15%. Maybe I should take some profits. Maybe I should lock this in. And I think one thing I go back to is um, just listen to Raul and Julian or listen to the big macro guys. You never hear them say, okay, boys and girls, we're up 15%. Everybody remember to take profits. Like I've never heard any of them ever say anything like that ever even once, And so they're always looking at it like way out at the end of the cycle. And honestly, I am too. And so for me, I just look at the larger macro picture. I look at longer term, like weekly technicals, and I think we'll be able to see, you know, it coming off in the distance for quite a while. The likely top window, the timing band when we're getting into a top window. And so I'll probably start just looking to rotate out later this year, maybe around Q4, I'll be like, okay, where are we? Do I feel like we still have another 3 to 6 months left, or do I feel like things are starting to look toppy? And then I'll start rotating out, DCing out, or at the very least, I'll start rotating profits from some of my more riskier plays like into Bitcoin for the final stage. So that way, at least those profits still continue to go up, but I'm not sort of riding this crazy volatility roller coaster quite as much. I'll be locking those profits into Bitcoin at least. And so that way, when, we do finally get a big correction, Bitcoin might only go down 10% in that time span, whereas some of those alts I was holding, they might go down 30% in that span. And I don't want that at that point, because suddenly when we're at the end of the cycle and we're talking about big all-time highs, 30% that's a lot of money, and so I don't want to ride that down. I'll take the Bitcoin volatility in that scenario. And so, yeah, for me, again, it's not anytime soon. I really try to avoid just the little incremental profit taking along the way, and taking some off to buy the next dip and stuff like that. I feel like you just end up running the risk of kind of getting chopped up in that scenario and ending up with less, because you have to be a lot more active. You have to pay attention to the charts. You have to actually execute on selling those little peaks and actually buying the dips in the right time. And if you don't do that, then you end up having to buy back higher. And it's just a mess. Now, if you want to take some lifestyle chips off the table, that's totally different. That's one thing. Like if suddenly one day you pull up your portfolio tracker and it's more money than you've ever seen in your life, and you're just like, oh my God, I'm rich, or I made it, or whatever, and you want to pull some money out to go buy yourself something nice, obviously do that, like all day. But like in terms of just the larger rotating out of the market, to me, we're months away from that still. Like we're not even close. Like for right now, I'm just looking at things and sitting back and enjoying the ride and just letting it run. And maybe come September, October, then I'll start to go, okay, do I need to consider taking money out now, or where are we at? Where's the market cycle, or where's the business cycle at? What's the macro telling me? And I'll make my decisions based on that at that point.
Well said. Thank you for the question, Stuart. All right, Alex from the platform wants to know, what are your thoughts on AI projects like Fetch and Render?
I mean, it's not so much what my thoughts are. I guess it's more like what the market's thoughts are. And for that, we just look at the price and let's see, what do we got here? Let's look at Fetch, actually. I haven't looked at Fetch in a second, so give me a second here to kind of give a quick assessment. So, yeah, okay, so let's just, starting from like the beginning of the year. Or no, here's the beginning of the year, sorry. So basically everything, peaked at the beginning of the year, dropped down. We had the April lows. Now, a lot of tokens we've seen that were able to basically come back up and reverse this downtrend, like this bull market support band, this shaded area here. They were able to basically get above it, break out, and reverse this trend to the upside. Now, Fetch is doing okay. It hasn't broken out to the upside yet, but it also hasn't been rejected and has gone on to set lower lows, like a number of things have. So Fetch is kind of right in that no man's land a little bit, where they're trying to break out, they're trying to set higher highs, but honestly, they're still nowhere close to like their all-time highs, or even the high from back in January. So they're not quite tracking with the rest of the market in the case of Fetch. And then what was the other one?
Render.
Sorry, Render. Okay, yeah. So yeah, let's look at Render. And if I'm not mistaken, Render is pretty much in the same boat. Yeah, if even slightly worse off. So this is telling me that like there is a bid because the price has gone up, but like they're not tracking with the rest of the market. So the larger market as a whole has not bought back into the AI sector quite as aggressively as they have in some other sectors. I know even things like virtuals and some of the AI agents and things like that, they've done okay too, but they haven't quite caught up. And even things like BitTensor also doing okay, but hasn't quite caught up with everything else. Like BitTensor actually does look a little bit better, but they're just, I would put them in the middle. They're just kind of average. They're not like the best things to be in right now. They're not the worst things to be in right now. But I think there are a large number of other things that are better to be in right now.
Yeah, well said. That AI narrative, obviously bullish, but it seems like the coins haven't quite caught up to it yet. But if you want a great conversation on AI, make sure you tune into Raoul Pal Journeyman's conversation with Jordy Visser, where they just dive into AI and just talk about use cases and how they're thinking about it. So it was a really great episode. It's free for you to view, so make sure you check that out. That's going to do it for us today. Another great session of trading the markets. As always, come continue the conversation in Discord. If you have any trades that you think are great that we might not have touched on, leave them in the comments, and we'll try to get to them on Monday and Wednesday of next week. And also let us know which one you think is going to outperform this cycle. Until then, we'll see you all. We'll see you all next week. Don't fuck this up. Enjoy the green candles, and let's have a good one, guys. Take care.
Thanks, everybody.